Hello, I want to demonstrate how to brace or cradle hardboard. We can call it hardboard is the generic term, or some people call it masonite because of the company that makes it. And what it is wood fibers that have been shot against the surface and then they bond back together into a board. This is one surface that we can paint on. And there's a couple different reasons for bracing it. One is if you have masonite that's this size, it really doesn't need to be braced. But if you get much larger, you would want to brace it. Masonite has a tendency to warp if it's left down in a basement or up in an attic or out in a garage where it's going to get some moisture. So one is warping, and the other is it gives you a surface that you can attach pine lattice to or oak molding. So that allows you to attach it to the side with these small nails, brads. You can hammer these in or you could use screws. You can do this a couple different ways. One is you can have the pine lattice be flat or flush against the front, or you can bring it out 1/4 of an inch. The advantage to bringing it out 1/4 of an inch is if something goes across the surface, it's going to hit on the pine lattice and it's not going to scratch your painting. The disadvantage to this is if you're in a gallery and the light's coming down, it does make a little shadow across the top of your painting. So if that doesn't bother you, you might want to go this route because then it will protect your painting better. What we're going to do then is we need to sand the front of your paint, the front of your masonite, and I'd appreciate it if you did that into a garbage can so that we don't get the dust all over the studio. And you need to do it to get the gloss off the masonite. This will help your paint to adhere to the masonite much better. So get that all off so it's fuzzy like a peach. It also helps if you do just the back of your masonite where the 1x2s are going to go. So now we have the front. We have the gloss off that's been sanded. And then in the back, we're going to add 1x2s, which I have. And you can do that a couple different ways. You could do miter cuts on, and we can cut these on the miter box down in the sculpture studio. You have to be extremely precise when you do 45-degree miter cuts. It's much easier if you do butt joints, and a butt joint is just one 1x2 into another one like this. To get these at 90-degree angles, you can use one of these L's, and that will give you a 90-degree angle on your wood. And then we'll cut these down on the miter box. Sometimes it takes a couple times to get it correct. It's okay if these are a little smaller than your masonite, but you don't want them larger than your masonite because then that will hold your molding out. You'll see this in front of your masonite, so you don't want that. Next, after you have these cut to the right side, what I like to do is you put down 1 bead of wood glue in the middle of your 1x2s, put it onto the masonite, and then I use these shims just so it doesn't put a dimple in the masonite, and then tighten these up. Make sure that it's in place. If you have glue that leaks out over the side, you'll want to wipe that off because that can also hold your molding off. And this is going to have to sit for a day till it dries. I put 2 clamps on each side. And then you can write your name on the back. And here are a few illustrations of just how you could brace your masonite. And the last thing I want to cover is, this is a standard size. This is 9 by 12. So there are standard sizes like 8 by 10, 9 by 12, 11 by 14. And you can buy frames in a frame shop that are already created. So your masonite will fit into these. The thing to remember is there is like a 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch overlap on your painting. So when you put your masonite into the frame, you want to make sure that your signature doesn't go all the way to the outside edge of the masonite or it'll get covered up. I know this from experience, that you want your signature to be in at least 1/4 inch so it doesn't get covered up. And that's it for bracing masonite.